Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm back, baby, after a little hiatus, and it was a big hiatus. And this is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Wirth. I don't even know what are we in. We in September 8th, 2023, and apparently I ain't done a podcast since June, which is pretty messed up. I've never had that big of a gap, and I apologize to the listeners, but I'm back now. Um, I had some health problems called I eat too much garbage and all I want to do is sleep. So I could either do the podcast or take a nap, and I've been choosing a nap. But I'm eating healthier now. So I mean, hey, let's get back to the podcast because I love doing it, and I hope you guys come on back and tune me in because we discuss comedy here, and today we're going to be discussing I guess we're going to call her, I'm not trying to be gender sensitive here, it don't matter, but a female comedy icon, which Carol Burnett. Let's just put it out there, Carol Burnett, and for this generation, I guess if you were a female comic, you look up Joan Rivers was like the godfather of our generation. But who inspired Joan Rivers? Probably went back to Carol Burnett because she was the original. She was, one of the pioneers, and I can't tell you how many female comics I've met that said Carol Burnett. That's it. That's who inspired me to become a comedian right there. As always, today's episode is brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. It's canned. I can't really smell it, but if you could smell it, this is some good stuff. I'll tell you. Go to www.gvegas.webs.com. Go green, go fresh. Get it shipped right to your door. And I'll tell you what, man. I love a good buffalo sauce, and this stuff is great, man. So take my word for it. You got to try it out. Carol Burnett. I don't think they had buffalo sauce back in her day, but she lived a ripe old age, so maybe she tried some, as she get older. But yeah, it's episode 177. Let's get right into it. The Carol Burnett Show on CBS, iconic. One of the first to be hosted by a woman. So I mean, you had all these late night TV shows, and not that they didn't have fill-in women, but I mean, the first to get her own show. Whoa, this was unheard of back then. Where, I can say in today's comedy, it's a 50-50. There's just as many female comics as men, but back then it was a male-driven industry, and boy, I mean, just to be at the top of your game as a female comic back then was something. But get your own talk show, like the Late Show, or the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Oh my gosh, that's unheard of. How good was it? 6 primetime Emmys, a Tony, a Grammy, and 7 Golden Globes. That's not a bad resume. You got a little trophy case there, right? Your friends come over your house. Look what I won. Yeah, that's not bad. I got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Mark Twain Prize, Screen Actors Guild Achievement Award. Born in San Antonio, Texas, but her family moved to California where she went to high school. When she went there, she studied theater and musical comedy at UCLA. For a comedy career, she started performing in nightclubs in New York City and later broke out on the Broadway. 1950 Time, Once Upon a Mattress, and Carol Burnett. I mean, I've done so many of these podcasts, and it's like so many of these podcasts lead back to Broadway. I mean, these are the places, Broadway, L.A. It's not like nowadays, like now, I can do Funny Like Clown podcast from anywhere. You couldn't do that back then. Okay, you had to pack up your bags. You had to move to L.A. You had to move to New York. Yeah, you could be a local comic, but I mean, if you really wanted to make it, pack your bags and get to the big city, baby. That's what you do. Made her debut on the Gary Moore Show. She was regularly there for 3 years. Had her own TV special, Calamity Jane, on CBS. She moved to LA. She did 11-year run on CBS and was 67 to 78. And for her show that she had on CBS, she went back to her vaudeville roots, where she had comedy sketches, film parodies, and characters. Which that's the standard for any late night talk show today. I mean, that's pretty much what they're doing. You go to Saturday Night Live, that's what they're doing. But yeah, all these guys. Let's see. She had film roles in Pete and Tilly in 1972, The Front Page in 1974, The Wedding in 78, Four Seasons in 81, Annie in 82, Noses Off in 92, Horton Hears a Who in 2008. So, I mean, she's just, constantly working. And, before I did this podcast, I was watching Sammy Hagar. He's one of my heroes, not so much in comedy, but I mean, in music, I love Van Halen. Plus, just this guy, business wise, is just one of the smartest guys in the world. And he said that, he's friends with Guy Fieri, the big cooking genius there. And he said that Guy Fieri, he's one of the hardest working guys. He owns 27 restaurants and he's got like 5 TV shows. I mean, he's like, I mean, here's Sammy Hagar, one of the hardest working guys, and he don't even know how this guy works so hard. So, I mean, yeah, here's Carol Burnett, just never slowed down, just constantly. And I tell people that in comedy, if you want to make it, you got to constantly be working on something. If nothing's going on, you got to make something going on. You can't you don't just sit around waiting for it to happen. Those people never get nowhere. Okay, if you make it happen, that's what's going to get you somewhere. That's why I get hate, because I make things happen. Then you get kicked down because people get, they get jealous. Everybody thinks, once you got something going on, you owe me something. I'm a hot shot comic. You owe me something. Well, I figured out, you know what? I owe myself. I don't owe anybody else. She's on the TV show Mad About You, which I did watch a lot of those episodes, and I can't say. I guess maybe I slightly remember being on there, but I can't say I remember specifically what she did. She had specials with Julie Andrews and Dolly Parton, which, I mean, those are two of the biggest names of the time right there, and they're willing to work with you. You're in that category with a big name. And I'm a big Sam Kinison fan. And I know Sam said when he broke it, he was like so in awe. He was going to these Hollywood parties that nobody else could get into. And he got invited and he was just so in awe meeting all these stars and rubbing elbows with, wow, I'm in the same category as these people. This is such a cool thing. She made a return to Broadway in 1995 with Moon Over Buffalo. And yeah, I was talking to a guy at work and he told me, he's like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. And he said, Harrison Ford, geez, he went on to have such a big career after Star Wars. And Mark Hamill, he really didn't do much of the movies. And I was like, well, his dream was to do Broadway. So while Harrison Ford was making all the big movies, he followed his dream and did some big stuff on Broadway. Mark Hamill was huge. And that was why you didn't see him in a bunch of big movies after that. Let's see. She had an AMC drama, Better Call Saul, in 2022. She written and narrated her own memoirs in such good company. She had a Golden Globe, actually not just named after her, not they actually named one of them, get the Carol Burnett Award this year. So I mean, that's some good company to be in. She was honored on an MB special, and yeah, MB honored on an NBC special at the age of 90 years old. Carol Burnett, 90 years of love and laughter, laughter and love. And I guess they didn't wait till 100 because we can't make any money if she's in the grave. So let's do it at 90 because God bless her, she makes 100, but hey, we're not sure. Let's see. We had her mom was a publicity writer for movie studios. Her dad owned a movie theater. He was a manager. And I've actually there's been a few comics whose parents own movie theaters, and I guess that's what you're around, and you keep seeing movies, and you see you grow a bigger appreciation for the art, I guess, than if you just going to see a movie every now and then. If you get into every movie, then yeah, I can see you want to be in show business. So I guess it was the family business, you'd say. I guess her grandmother took her and her sister to movies a lot, and said they used to steal rolls of toilet paper from the bathroom. So see, not everybody has the big rich upbringing. I think all these stars, a lot of them start out poor. You got to steal toilet paper from a movie theater. That's all right. Well, you got to do what you got to do, right? And let's see. She was influenced, sketch comedy for CBS. She worked as an usher at Warner Brothers Theater. She didn't want to seat a couple until the movie was over. As not to ruin it for the other people who were in there. And she got fired for it. So here she's trying to be respectful of the other people, and I guess they must have complained, hey, this lady won't see this, and hey, you're a teenager, you're not doing your job, out you go. So she eventually got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and when she did get it, just she chose to put it right in front of that theater that fired her. So that was the get back thing she did right there. Okay, every day you go to work, you got to walk by the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame of where I got fired from, bitches, and that's payback. I love that. This, ha ha, I made it. Yeah, I'm watching a lot of documentaries still. I was watching one on the Runaways with Joan Jett and Lita Ford and all the girl band there, and they talked about how they were so young when they started out and went out, and one of the girls ready to go home. She's like, I'm so lonely. I so miss home. And Lita's, well, you think I don't miss home too? You think I'm not lonely? It's like, when I go back, I want to go back to somebody, though. That's why I'm sticking it out. And that's why they stuck it out. Let's see. Her early career, she actually worked as a hat girl in New York City. So that's why I say everybody sees these big stars and they say, oh my God, that must be so cool to be a star. And you don't realize they started out just normal people like us. Everybody thinks, oh my God, they were a star their whole lives. They started out and anybody can make it. Anybody. You just got to have the will and the drive. She got cast in a minor role in 1955, which led to her starring opposite Buddy Hackett in a short-lived sitcom Stanley from 56 to 57. But I mean, Buddy Hackett, one of the biggest stars at the time. So I mean, if you're getting in with a sitcom with him, that's going places right there. She became popular in the nightclubs, okay, which back then, if you get on the circuit, you get your break. It led to her. She was on the Tonight Show and the Ed Sullivan Show, which I've said this many times. If you get on those shows nowadays, late night talk shows, it's a cool thing, but you're not a made comic, okay? I remember one comic saying he finally got his break on the Tonight Show. He thought, this is it. This is my big break. I think he did the Tonight Show. He said the next day nothing happened. So it's not like, see, now back then that was the only platform where you could get out, to that many people was on TV. Was to, there weren't no, YouTubes. There weren't no, all these, the Comedy Central channel. I mean, that was it. It was only a couple of venues, and if you hit one of them, you are a recognizable comic because they couldn't see him anywhere else. You're a made comic. You go to get booked. What's your resume? I was on the Tonight Show. Well, you headlining. Okay, yeah. Let's see. She was working at the Blue Angel Supper Club where she got discovered by a scout, Jack Parr, and I guess he's the one who discovered her and put her on the Ed Sullivan Show, which I assume led to the Tonight Show. See, she played Carnegie Hall in 1962, and what's the old joke? Can you tell me how to get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, baby, practice. Well, she practiced and she made it. Okay. She had her own episode on the Twilight Zone, which I know Sam Kinison. He had some voice work he did on the Twilight Zone too, and they actually had a lot of big stars on that show. We're up there with the Simpsons. Well, not up there with Simpsons, but on the same thing where they had a lot of these stars come in and do work. The Simpsons, I guess, they were famous for discovering them before they were stars, and the Twilight Zone, they'd have them on once they were stars. Let's see. Worked with Bob Newhart. Bob was a fan. She was good friends with Jim Neighbors, also from Gomer Pyle. Well, golly, they were really close friends and had a reoccurring role on his show. So yeah, I got some big breaks, and I remember one of the top bookers in New England. He was asking me, he's like, "How do you get in on all that stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a friend of a friend." And he's like, "That's bullshit, man. There's been guys in this business 30 years waiting for an opportunity like that. You get to do it because you got a friend." Hey, it's good to have friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's not always talent that'll lead you there. You got to have a little bit of luck too, and sometimes having a good friend that guy could be luck. So it's all part of the game. 1955, Lucille Ball became a friend. I mean, hey, you're talking Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett in the same place. That's like, yeah, I build a time machine, go back and see that shit. That's must see stuff right there. Let's see. After being a friend, she she started guesting Carol Burnett on 2 TV specials, and had her on the Lucy Show. Which, I mean, if you're on the Lucy Show back then, who wasn't turning that? And that was one of the top shows at the time. If it was the top show at the time, not one of them. Yeah. 1967, CBS offered to put her on a sitcom. Here's Agnes. Instead, she negotiated with CBS and cast Tim Conway and Lyle Wagner, and she appeared on Sesame Street also. So she got her own show instead of, I guess they wanted to put, let's do a sitcom, and she's like, no, I'm a late night talk show. And remember Tim Conway? Yeah, he made his break, on the Carol Burnett show. He went on to become one of the bigger stars. And Lyle Wagner, I remember him on the Wonder Woman show there. So they all went on to do their things, I guess. Appeared on Sesame Street, and I got to tell you, but they got the Cartoon Network now. They got Nickelodeon, and I mean, when I was a kid, you had to wait for Saturday morning cartoons. That was all we got. Then you had to wait another week. It wasn't 24 hours like that. But I mean, the original, led to all this, children's programming stuff. It was Sesame Street and Mister Rogers' Neighborhood. Those are the original two. If I had to choose one to be on, I'd choose Sesame Street. That's like the godfather of children's programming right there. So what an honor to be on that. And she did a Theater I Do with Rock Hudson, which Rock Hudson, again, one of the top names of the time. She ended each show by tugging on her ear, and I do remember that. And it was a message to her grandmother, I guess. And she's like, well, I can't believe that's on you. She's like, can you wave to me or something? She's like, well, I can't just wave at the cameras, but we'll have our secret. That'll be our secret. When I tug on my ear, you'll know that's for you. She did that for her grandmother at the end of every episode. So Mom, if you're watching, there you go. That's for you, right? After the production ended in '78, she did 4 episodes produced by ABC, Carol Burnett and Company. And as I said, just kept working throughout her career. I mean, 90 years old, and she's still, still working at 90. Who I hope to be retired by then. No, you do comedy, you do it. It's not work; it's what you love to do. I'll be retired from my regular job, but I'll do comedy till the day I die because it's in your blood. 2015, MeTV started airing episodes, which if you didn't catch the original, you catch the reruns, which that's still on. I remember about Jimmy Walker, and he said, Good Times, it's still on in every major market. Somebody's got it. I think it was MeTV still runs Good Times too. They got all the old retro shows there, so it's still airing. 2001, they did a retrospective on her life and show, which drew 30 million viewers. Kapow! 30 million. Yeah. I know what Disney just got 12 million for the Ahsoka series, and they considered that low. 12 million people is low. We got 30 million people. Well, I don't know how many people are on the planet, but damn it, that's a lot of people. Let's see. It topped the Emmy Awards and the World Series that year. Her show. So I mean, more people are tuning in Carol Burnett than they're tuning in the Emmy Awards in the World Series. That's talking right there. Okay. 2019, she did some voice work for Toy Story 4, which I'm a big fan of the Toy Story series. So I gotta give her props. That was the first movie that me and my son really. He was right at the age where he was starting to get into. That was the first movie he really got into. We must have watched that 100 times. So the original Toy Story. Buzz Lightyear, I remember Woody and all the action figures he had, and we tried to make the whole collection. I mean, we were close to having like everything in the movie. She appeared on Mama's Family. I do remember that. She was on the soap opera All My Children. I did not know that. She did a soap opera. Guest starred on Desperate Housewives. 2009, she was on Law and Order Special Victims Unit. She was on the reboot of Hawaii Five-0. Mark Twain Hour at the Kennedy Center. Was you get Kennedy Center honors? Yeah. Only the best of the best get that. The best don't get it. If you're the best, you don't get to do Kennedy Center. If you're the best of the best, you get to do Kennedy Center. Let's see. 2015 had a 50th anniversary, and her, to show you how respected she was when they did her 50th anniversary. The guests were Jim Carrey, Stephen Colbert, Jay Leno, Jane Lynch, and Martin Short. So I guess that shows you when you're that respected that those kind of stars will come out to pay respect to you. What are you gonna say? Carol Burnett, icon, and I don't like, as in today's day and age, it's not cool to separate. You just say comedy, okay? No matter if it's female comedy or male comedy. And there's a local comedian around here. She's like, I'll never do a female show because I can hold my own with any male comic, out there. Okay, so don't ever put me on an all female show because I can hold my own with the big boys. So I mean, but to say this woman was a pioneer for female comedy would be an understatement. I mean, she paved the ground, and like I said, nowadays there's just as many female comics as there are male. Back in the day, there weren't. Why are there more? Because Carol Burnett inspired them. That's why she showed, hey, I can do anything a guy can do, and I can do it just as good, if not better. And what a career she had. And like I said, how many comics have told me, that she inspired them, and I've had comics, who inspired you? Carol Burnett. Who else? That's it. Carol Burnett. I was like, which I understand because this guy right here, Sam Kinison, there was everybody else, and then there was Sam who inspired me to do comedy. So I could totally get where they're coming from. But Carol, thank you for what you gave us. Thank you for launching the careers of the Tim Conways and the Lyle Wagners and giving us the next generation of comedy. And truly, the godmother of comedy, I guess you'd have to go with her and Lucille Ball. Those are the two big icons that take it back to take it back. Like I said, Joan Rivers, she'd be the godfather of female comedy for today's generation. For my parents' generation, Carol Burnett. This is Final Icon Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully it's not a 3-month freaking venture, before I see you guys again. But like I said, I got to start eating more healthy because junk food is not good for you. But G Vegas buffalo sauce is healthy, so get some of that. And another one of the reasons is I've told you guys before on the podcast, I did a movie. Fox TV streaming service, Tubi picked it up. You can watch it free with commercials. It's called The World Needs a New Superhero, and we are filming the sequel to it this summer. So that's another reason why I haven't been on the podcast for a while, because I've been busy filming that. But no, it's definitely not going to be 3 months before I see you guys again because, hey, we discuss comedy here and we're having fun. Me and you, leave me a like, smash that like button. I've never said that. Well, that's if you're in the video version. If you're in the audio version, which I got a much bigger following than I do the video version, so I guess people like to listen to a podcast, not so much watch it. But I thank you guys for tuning in. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, Final Icon Podcast. Whoever your favorite comedian is, chances are I've done a review of them. So tune us in and join the fun. Good night.